Welcome to This Entertainment Answer. I am Matt Mungle. This time around, looking at a Netflix original movie called Fair Play. Obviously, we know Netflix for their series, but they also do original movies. This time they did a movie called Fair Play. It's going to be in limited theaters, probably for a couple of weeks through the end of September, 1st of October. It is an R-rated drama written and directed by Chloe Dumont, and she pens a movie that actually makes us think about a lot of things, especially when it comes to jobs, relationships, support, what we say when we say we really love someone, and how far does that really go. The film has a solid cast and stars Phoebe Dynevor and Alden Ehrenreich, plus Eddie Marsan. It's set in the cutthroat hedge fund world when it pushes a young couple's relationship to the brink. Alden plays Luke. You might recognize him as he played Han Solo in the Solo Origin movie. He has an intensity about him that I really like. He reminds me, if I dare say so, of even a Leonardo DiCaprio or even a young Jack Nicholson in the way that he just captures this intensity and the volatility that comes on his face and the way he wears his emotions and can go from one extreme to the other really quickly. So I like Alden, like what he does here with Luke. Here's a guy that is really in love with his fiance, and he is ready to make a life and start a life together. Unfortunately, they work at the same place. They haven't disclosed their relationship to HR, so they're having to be a little bit under the wire about their relationship. Can't really talk about that, especially, I assume, in the world of high finance and hedge funds and all of that, where it's so cutthroat. Well, when some promotions go a little bit different than either one of them expected, man, it just throws a wrench into the whole works, and Luke just spirals. On the other side of that, Phoebe plays Emily, Luke's fiance, who also, as I mentioned, works at the hedge fund, and she's in love, looking forward to getting married, announcing their engagement. Again, when this happens and Luke spirals, she doesn't understand why this person who says that he loves her isn't supporting her through this, but instead coming at her negatively. It's easy to look at that and go, you know what, I would always support my spouse. And I think I would. I've had some conversations off screen with some people that I know and just talked about that. And I guess there's two different kinds of people. Those who support unconditionally, who really don't have an ego when it comes to things like work and finances and things of that nature, who would just support their spouse, their significant other on either side. And then there's some that just won't. They refuse to. And so it's interesting to watch this and see it from both Luke and Emily's eyes as this takes place. Eddie Marsan also stars in this. He's the boss of the hedge fund. We don't really see him a lot. I mean, I like Eddie. He's a good actor. I think he's there just sort of a catalyst for these other two players to move around through, to bring another dynamic into it. As the boss, obviously, he's making the calls, and there's some things that he has to do in the dialogue. But again, solid role, but he's just there to move around with the other characters. I mean, this is Emily and Luke's show, and this film is about them, and they carry the weight of it nicely. So again, it's a really interesting film to watch, and I suggest you do it. If you don't get a chance to see it in theaters, definitely check it out on Netflix when it starts streaming mid-October, because it raises a lot of interesting questions about office dynamics, relationships, high-stress jobs, supporting those that you say you love, what it means to put our own egos in check, and what happens when we get devastating news. How do we react to that? It's easy to, like I said earlier, it's easier to point fingers at Luke, but what do we do in our own life when these circumstances arise, and how do we react to those? And just that dynamic of what happens and spiraling, and in a job too where I've never been in this situation, obviously, but a job where you can go from losing millions or making millions overnight for a company, and the pressure of that. Like, how do you rebound when you have to tell your boss you've lost $28 million? Or how do you celebrate when the boss tells you that you made the company $28 million? And the bonuses that come from that, and the privilege, and all the perks of that you get when others around you aren't, and how do you handle that, especially as a female? Another great point of this film is the fact that if, and again, not to give too much away, but if it would have been a male who was moving upwards, everybody would applaud it. We wouldn't even have a film. We might have some little bit of arguments, a little tension because of the overworking and the stress, but there wouldn't be a whole movie about it. The fact that we see Emily in this position and how males around her react, it's like we assume that the guy worked really hard and has earned this. If the girl did it, it's like, what's she been doing? Who's she been flirting with? And, it's a cliche, but it's sadly true. And so the film brings out a lot of that too, of why there's such a double standard in the workplace. And it brings up a lot of great conversations. It really does. So again, the movie is called Fair Play, hitting Netflix October 13th. Check it out. For everything that we do, it's theentertainmentanswer.com. Like, subscribe, follow, check us out on the socials, YouTube, our website, everywhere else. And we'll be back next time.